few things here. Thank you for being here. Oh, I'm excited for this conversation. You also might hear my dogs. I think that they're also excited for this conversation because they seem to be doing a lot of talking today. So we'll see if we can keep them quiet. Oh, thank you. Hello. I was muted on Zoom. I have a few things going on. We're on YouTube. We're in a few places. So thank you so much for being here. Hopefully my dog will be quiet. They've been chatty this morning. So hopefully they won't chime in too much. Thank you for being here for this Q&A and conversation on the cosmic alignment. Hello, Kristen. Yeah, I appreciate you guys being here. I think this is a really important conversation, and it's not just, we're not just in normal average times. And so part of my, my desire or my aim today in talking about the cosmic forecast. Hi, Rajmila. Oh my gosh, what time is it in India? I'm trying to do the time conversion. So there's a lot of great information out there about what's going on. Yes, the dogs are excited for sure. There's a lot of energy, right? There's a lot of great, 12:30 a.m. Great information that's already out there sort of astrologically about what's going on with not just the solstice, which is today, or the great conjunction is what it's been calling. I had to pause for a minute because I've been calling it the cosmic alignment, because that's really how I see it. So I am not an astrologer. I am not big, even like very schooled or big into astrology. So I want to put that out there right away. I know just enough about the energies and the qualities of certain aspects of astrology that I will bring in bits and pieces of things that have been talked about, just because I want to help sort of connect the dots with some of the energies that I'm seeing. And I also want to bring in an aspect a little bit about Vedic astrology, but also Tantric numerology, which some of you know I do love to work with. So it's not sort of the normal numerology. It comes from the yogic lineage. So the Tantric numerology is very interesting as we move into next year. And so, like I said, I will bring in things that other people have talked about, certain things that are a little bit more common knowledge, but only as a way of sort of connecting the dots and looking sort of in wonder and awe as in terms of how amazingly all of these different energies, no matter what language you speak, whether it's, Western astrology, whether it's Vedic astrology, whether it's numerology or Tantric numerology, it doesn't matter which path you're taking. Everything is sort of pointing to the same things. And I love it when that happens. So in that sense, it's its own sort of cosmic alignment that we are in right now. So the first piece that I want to talk about is the solstice. Many of us already know that a winter solstice, of course, is when the days start to get a little bit shorter again. So we're moving our way out of the darkness and into the light, if you will. So that's just sort of the basic premise of solstice. And of course, what that often represents is new beginnings, rebirth, just a sense of newness, where the winter time, we do tend to do a lot of reflection and inventory taking. And with so much that's been going on, lately, I think a lot of us have been feeling the intense energies where there's a lot of old patterns that are coming to the surface. There's a lot of old childhood wounds, old childhood feelings, patterns that have been coming up. I've seen it happen with clients. I'm seeing it happen in different family dynamics with clients within my own home. It's just really interesting to see how that's all coming together. But what does this specific solstice mean when we are looking at where Jupiter and Saturn are starting to position themselves as they get closer to dancing in the sky, where they are just 1 degree apart? Some people are saying 1 degree, some people are saying they meet at 0 degrees. I'll probably talk a little bit about what both of those mean. There's just a little nuance there, but we also don't need to split hairs. It's still very interesting. What we are looking at with the solstice right now, with these cosmic influences, is what ways are we willing to innovate and change ourselves? Not from the ordinary sense of, oh, there's something wrong with me, or this isn't working in my life, so I want to be different. We're not being asked to run from what's not working. We are having the invitation to be compelled by a bigger energy that wants to call something out of us. And this is a very important distinction, because oftentimes when we are looking at some kind of change in our lives, it is often because something isn't working or doesn't feel right, or whatever the case may be. But there's this sort of troubleshooting or fixing or looking back in the past to make something better in the future. That's not where we are anymore, as we are officially moving into the age of Aquarius. We are not going to be as inclined to be in those dualistic black and white dynamics of it's either past or it's future, or this either or. It's that we're going to find ourselves in sort of this center point, in the gray area between the black and white on the spectrum, where we can find our center, where we can find our own sense of balance and consciousness within us, and feel this current of energy that is drawing us into this sense of newness. But this sense of newness is coming from our soul. And that's the other piece that's really different, is that we are being asked to be so in alignment with ourselves that all that is not us is able to fall away. And I know that there have been times where we have talked about this, I'm sure, in the past. But here's what's great about this overarching energy that we're in right now, between the solstice and Jupiter and Saturn and what they're doing. And I will get to the Tantric numerology about it, which completely validates this. Is that we are asked to stand in alignment with the totality and the beauty and the magnificence of who we are. And it's the energy now is fully supporting that. That is Aquarian energy. We are no longer needing to live in this right-wrong dynamic where it's always about me versus the other. It's me and the other. No. Part of this huge cosmic shift that is upon us is that we must find a way to come together. We must find a way to not just change what isn't working, and the innovations and change coming from that, where, we'll create just another version of something we've already done. That's not innovation. And that's not the energy that we're in. That's what we've been doing for, hundreds of years, if not longer, thousands of years. We are looking to find 100% new creations. Innovation is not doing something differently. Innovation is doing something entirely differently. And to do things entirely differently, we must be willing to be entirely different within ourselves. And again, this is not a way of making anyone wrong. Not any one of us is wrong. I don't believe that we're off path. I don't believe any of that. If things aren't working or aren't in alignment in our lives, all that is indicating is that something is out of alignment. That's it. And our work is to open our eyes and become aware of what is being called out of us. So a really great question to ask ourselves, if we feel that something or some things are out of alignment, is what part of myself am I concealing right now? What part of myself am I protecting? Because oftentimes the things that we have grown so accustomed to protecting are where our biggest gems and our biggest breakthroughs are. And so the energy that we are in right now is saying, find those gems, find those aspects of yourself, because you were born with them for a reason. You were born in this time in the world for a reason. That is not a mistake that you are here for this massive transition that we are in. And so it sounds cliche, but the world literally needs us right now. The world needs us to be who we are. What's amazing is that now we have the energy that is really going to support us in this. And so what you might find is that there could be some vulnerability in that. This will be a time where you will likely feel some vulnerability, because, obviously when we're putting aspects of ourselves out there that maybe we've been protecting for a long time or we've been holding back on, that can be really scary. That takes a lot of courage, and it can feel like a really big risk. But our work is to not confuse vulnerability for weakness and understand how much of a strength that is. And our living and leading by example is everything. That it is literally everything right now. We often think of leading by example as something like behaviorally, like, oh, someone can watch this behavior or watch me do that, and they can be inspired, or they can have whatever experience. But going beyond that with where we are moving, it's not just about our behavior. It is also about what energy we are projecting out of us. What energy, what vibrational frequencies are being broadcast from these things that we call bodies. And so, as many of us know, I mean, we talk about this all the time. It's like common conversation, but I think in a lot of ways it's because of where we've been cosmically, sort of in this Piscean age, with a lot more duality, is that we know that we are made up of energy, but we don't always allow ourselves the full consciousness to be aware of what that actually means. That is actually a really significant truth when we can drop into that. Because what it says, if we truly acknowledge that we are energy, that means that these physical containers are literally our broadcasting system. They broadcast. They broadcast our thoughts. They broadcast our feelings. They broadcast our emotions. So not just our actions are important anymore. And of course, that's not to make anyone paranoid. We're all going to have negative thoughts or, whatever. This isn't about being like dogmatic and like, oh my gosh, I had a bad thought. Like, no, those days are over. We are here to have human experience as spiritual beings. So every single one of us will absolutely still have negative thoughts, or just crappy days where we're having a really bad attitude about life. It happens. Here's the thing. It's not judging ourselves when we have those days or have those moments, and just understand that all that's being illuminated when we go to that place is that there is a misalignment between our soul and between our sense of self, human self. It's just illuminating a misalignment. That's it. And so if we can just be with that truth and just sort of let that energy roll off our back, then we can stay open to what else is possible, which again sort of takes us back to this innovation sort of energy, where the more that we stay in our conditioning and the more that we stay in these old storylines and contexts that we often carry around, the less we are allowing ourselves our capacity to really be in our fullest and our fullness and innovate who it is that we really are. Because I think it's true for most of us, in some way, shape, or form, there are ways that we are still living our lives based off of our programming, based off of the things we were supposed to do or should be, things like that. And so we're starting to actually leave the time where that conditioning is going to work for us anymore. And I think that that's why we've seen a lot more people over the years, more recent years. There's a lot more people that are feeling the call of being a healer. or going into different kinds of work that's more about service. There's no mistake about that. That has been the way that this cosmic energy has been already starting to work on us. So for those of you who are healers or know that you really feel called to step into that, it's time. Like if you need permission, here's your permission. It's time, and we need you. I don't care what you're actually doing. Like you could be working anywhere, but as long as you own the healer that you are, you could be working at, a Walmart and be a Walmart checker, and you have an important role of being the healer that you are. It doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter what you do as long as you are vibrating the frequency of the healer that you are, because again, we're talking about how we vibrate. This is all available to us right now, and it will continue to be. And so what's interesting about all of this is that we will likely find that if we are not allowing ourselves to really step into these aspects of ourselves, we will likely feel more challenged. And again, I don't mean that in a dogmatic way or even a punishing way, like, oh, if you don't do this, then you're going to get punished. Because again, that's old energy. It's not about that. But you are likely going to feel the contrast and sort of the rubbing of this misalignment. And so you're going to start to feel more of that pressure, and you will notice that. And so what I ask for you or from you is to not make an assumption that there's something wrong with you or start to doubt yourself or question yourself. I notice that a lot in my practice, that when things start to feel like they're getting harder or not working in the way that we want, we think that we're naturally doing something wrong. And it's like, well, I don't know that in my experience, it's actually about that. It's more about what more can you expand into? It's that we're usually holding ourselves back. We're contracting, we're constricting ourselves. So it's not what am I doing wrong? It's what is my most expansive step? What is that next most expansive step? Because that's what's going to want to be called out of you again and again and again. So what's super cool, I think, about if we look at the sort of Western astrological aspect of the energies around us. So really what I was just talking about had a lot to do with the current solstice that has the influence of the great conjunction that's taking place between Jupiter and Saturn. But when we sort of shift gears and look specifically at, what do those planets really mean and what do they represent? We look at Saturn and we look at Jupiter. Jupiter is ether, Saturn is air. So we're coming out of a very earthly, very grounded energy, cosmic energy, and we're moving into the field that is literally ether and air, which is pure potential. It's movement, it's space, it's creative potency. That's what ether and air represent. And so it really highlights this need for movement and innovation. And one of the overarching energies also is about world connection, connecting with yourself, connecting with others, connecting on a global scale. It's sort of the me, the we, the us. So we're starting to look at social constructs. Is one of the energies that comes along with Jupiter and Saturn as well, and the innovation of change, and which we've been seeing a lot of that in the world currently, where there's the destruction of old ways, in some ways highlighting the old ways. This is all so that we can bring in the new and innovate. And Jupiter is about expelling the darkness. It's about having really strong wisdom. Like Jupiter in Western astrology is really the guru. It's getting rid of this collective darkness so that we can come into the light. And then there's Saturn, which is really about discipline and patience. And so this is a super important piece, because when we look at the energy of Saturn being about patience, and yet here we have all of this, this desire to move, this desire to move around and connect and make change and all of that, we are still going to have to be patient. And that can feel really tricky sometimes when we feel so inspired. And inspiration is a quality of air and ether. We feel so inspired. And so there will be some of us who just want to take action. And it's like, oh my gosh, if I can't do this now, I feel like I'm going to die, right? The energy is, no, wait. There is a spiritual maturity that is being asked of us. And that part of us that understands that to create a strong foundation, to create a new innovative change, we will be patient and we must be disciplined. Discipline is another aspect of Saturn in Western astrology. Discipline, patience, boundaries, very important, very big energy with Saturn. And so we will notice that we will probably be having that dance within ourselves and within our relationships and within our innovations. Innovations can be with work, can be with purpose, can be with our relationships, with our families, with our hobbies. It doesn't necessarily matter. A lot of these different key aspects of our lives are definitely going to be affected, and are already, we're seeing things being affected, but we are going to see more of that. So patience, and here's part of the fun, is that there's this level of patience, and yet we don't want to be passive either, because again, air and ether are about movement. So this is where we can come back to the importance of understanding that our vibrational frequency and the vibration that we carry is truly critical for everything. Because even when we don't feel like we can be in the kind of action that we want to be in, like suppose there are things we cannot check off of our to-do list right now, it is our great work to be in the vibrational field of holding that knowing, of holding that alignment, of holding that connection to our soul, so that we are consistently feeling fulfilled regardless of what our external experiences are. And so that is some really significant work right there. And I think we all know that. And I believe that we are going to be called to task with that in bigger and greater ways. So interestingly, in Vedic astrology, which I'm a little bit more versed in, actually, my background is mostly from the East. But I still found it interesting that in Vedic astrology, Saturn, depending on how you look at it, some people feel like Saturn, oh God, that's like the cruel planet. Like, oh, if you have Saturn like all over your chart, or it's like, oh boy. And Saturn does have a very strong energy to it. But what I like to look at it as, and plenty of people do, who are looking at, but how do I use these concepts as a means for growth and not as something that's an oppressive energy that's going to keep me passive or keep me making excuses or just sort of resolve myself. Oh, there's a lot of Saturn, I can't do that. It's like, no, that's not going to work. Saturn is the planet of justice. And so what it's really, it's I'm going to be a little bit crass here, but it is one of my favorite sayings that, basically it's karma's only a bitch if you are. That's Saturn. Like really, that so much will be determined by our actions. So much will be determined by our vibrational frequency, our vibrational field, and what we are able to uphold and withhold within ourselves. And then there's Jupiter in Vedic astrology, that is really a very auspicious planet. This is the planet that like makes people rich. It's about being spiritually wise. It's being able to command your energy. So here we go, commanding your energy. That's what I've been saying. Like that's what we need. So we have the aid of Jupiter in helping us and allowing us to stay in that vibrational field that we want to be in. It's going to help us sustain these high vibrational patterns and experiences, and it will help us be generous, and it does, it honestly, it helps with wealth. It helps, it is really just like the gold crown of a planet. It kind of like delivers everything that most people want. So I think it's really important to note those as well. Now, the one thing I want to bring up before I briefly get into the tantric numerology, and then I want to open it up for questions and comments, is that sometimes when we have conversations, I know I can certainly probably come across a certain way, and so I want to just say something, that when we talk about all of these things, yes, does this include our purpose? Sure, because our purpose, in my opinion, is about being in alignment with our soul. We are here to uniquely express ourselves as we are here to do. That is our work. For some people, it could be like a big purpose, like being a star, being a big author, being a this or a that, like something that we would, in our sort of human selves, measure as being like this great, big, huge purpose. But I have to say that it doesn't matter if you're supposed to do these great, big, huge things, or if you are sitting in your home and doing whatever, like things that seem insignificant. It doesn't matter. Because when we go into the conversation of vibrational frequency, your vibrational frequency matters. We are looking at a cosmic force that we all are constantly commingling with, that we are in a dynamic relationship with. It is not separate from us. We are constantly and consistently in conversation with this force, and we are as an important part of this cosmic force as anything else is. So let's not forget that when we talk about like cosmic forecast and cosmic force, or even the planets, for example, we're not talking about things that are external to us. We're talking about these things that we have a direct and connected relationship with, and those energies reside in us. It's that these things amplify these different energies so that we can utilize them to command our own energy field. So we do not need to feel oppressed by the energies. We might at times, but our work is to be in a positive, sometimes neutral dialogue and awareness with these energies that are coming to life in us more and more, where we will start to see more of the energies around us bringing all that I'm talking about into focus. So it doesn't matter if you're here to be like a big hotshot author, a movie star, or, a bus driver. It doesn't matter. We are in a totally equal place where our work is much deeper than that, and our vibrational field will determine a lot more than what our externals will look like. So I do briefly want to go into tantric numerology because I do find this interesting. We're going into a 5-year, which is true for any kind of numerology that you might be following, but for tantric numerology, it's a 5-year, which represents the need to embody. So embodying our truth. So again, I love this. I bring it up because, well, I work with tantric numerology, but it all fits together. The 5 is also about balance, because in tantric numerology, we have 10 bodies, and the 5 is the physical body. It's related to the physical body, which brings us to our center point. And so as we come into this place of balance, it really is about living from our center, being embodied in our center point. Now, another piece that's interesting about the 5 is that it is about sacrifice. The 5 is about some sacrifice. And the way that I see it is it's not so much about having to give up parts of ourselves. In all of this energy that we're talking about, that we're sorting through right now, it is about letting go of the little versions of ourselves so that we can be in a place of receiving and being in our bigger version. And all of this is for the collective. All of our work right now on ourselves, as I was talking about before, like innovations and new social constructs, all of that, us doing our work is exactly what leads to new innovations and new social constructs in the world. And I'm not even talking politically, because I think no matter where anyone comes from politically, I think we can all agree that there's a lot of things that are not working and that we, in a lot of ways, could use a new system. And I don't even care what country you're in. There's areas where this is true for just about everywhere in the world. Although there's one that comes to mind where I'm like, is that really true? But I'm not going to say what I'm thinking. I have my own biases. Then anyway, so the other piece about the 5 in Tantric numerology is that it represents change. So here we are again. It represents travel. Here's what's interesting, though. It also relates to turbulence and moving in a new direction, changing gears. But here's where the turbulence comes in, sometimes unexpectedly. And so this is another place where we have to be aware of where our soul alignment is, because this will likely be a year that we have to be very flexible, because we will be met with different opportunities, some of which are going to be very uncomfortable for us, but they will be uncomfortable for a reason. And so what we don't want is to be in a situation where we are sort of holding on to this little version of ourselves and believing that our fears are the truth of who we are, and or of the truth of the opportunity that is coming to us. We are being asked to look beyond our old illusions and to be in vibrational alignment with the opportunities that are here to serve us. And so remember, I talked about patience a few minutes ago. There's another place for patience when we're looking at a 5-year, and what it points to is sometimes when these unexpected changes come up for us, we could knee-jerk into an emotional response where it's like, oh, I want to do that. Oh, yes, right? It's just a total automatic yes. What we are being asked to do is pause. And that doesn't mean say no, it doesn't mean any of that, but we want to be in the pause so that we can make sure that is this opportunity in alignment with my higher self? Or is it in alignment with my lower self in this little version of me? Is it in alignment with an old story? Are fears that come up for me with this opportunity aligned with an old story where it's actually, maybe we're confusing a gut hunch or an intuition with fear, because that happens too. If we have enough of our, old energy in our solar plexus, because, a lot of us know we have a ton of brain matter in our stomachs. So there's a lot going on in our solar plexus where we feel these gut hunches. It's not always as simple as going, ooh, but that just doesn't feel right. Sometimes it does require further investigation. And what might feel like intuition to us is actually a way that we are protecting ourselves again, or guarding ourselves from actually stepping into something scary and expansive. And so in this next year, you will likely notice that you will have opportunities that come up. You might want to knee jerk into a yes or a no, but I'm going to tell you right now that it's going to be a place that you probably want to pause and to really ask, where is this answer coming from within me? And be patient with yourself. Be patient with other people. So this is also relational too. So, right, we're talking about ourselves, but now if we look at relationships and people around us, right, like they are going to be called into the same kind of work, and it will be up to them. Are they going to choose to do it, or are they not? And so we may find that we have to be more patient with certain people, with our loved ones, while they are working out this kind of stuff in their own way. So patience is definitely going to be around. I don't think it's easy for a lot of us to make huge changes. And so we want to make sure that we're not sort of pointing fingers at a loved one or a person we're in relationship with because they're not changing at the speed of which we feel like they should or could. Meanwhile, here we are trying to do our own work and maybe, you know, could be doing a little better or could just really focus on being patient with ourselves. So let's, part of the Aquarian energy is coming into connection and coming into compassion. And so that's a beautiful place to start with compassion and connection is giving people the space and the patience to do the changing that they need to do as seen by their own soul and their own higher essence. Very important. So I know I've talked for a while here. I want to leave you with just a couple more questions that you can just sort of think about, and then I will take questions from you guys. A great question. Where is my place in the world? Where is my place in the world? What is my unique offering? And part of that is sort of they go together, but what comes naturally to me? Because that question alone is going to say a lot about your unique offering. It's really easy to not make a big deal about what comes so naturally to us because we're so used to it. Usually that's where our greatest gifts are, and we take them for granted. So that's a very important question. What comes naturally to me, as simple as it is. And then what wants to be born from me? That's another really important one. So I actually typed those out so I can put them in the chat in case anybody missed them. So where is my place in the world? What is my unique offering? What comes naturally to me? And what wants to be born from me? And I will put that in the chat. Oh, 1 second. Oops, okay. And then I just want to give a shout out to our friends on YouTube. We have people here on Zoom. But we also have people on YouTube. So thank you for being here, everyone, no matter where you are. I appreciate you. Now, I would love to open up to questions. Questions of any kind about what we've been talking about. You can ask personal questions. I mean, among all of your new friends, you can ask a personal question. And I think we have one from Chris already. Let's see. And Monica. Okay, cool. Callie says Saturn nudges us into pure potential. Absolutely. And it looks like Rashmila is still with us, even though it's really late in India. Okay, bless you. Chris is saying, my question is, do you see us becoming one world, all is one, and countries coming together to serve the greater good? And what can we do to facilitate that besides work on ourselves? That's a great question. So what I believe is that we will be seeing more efforts towards this. I do believe that we have quite a long way to go. And yet I do believe that there are innovations that will be taking place over the next, honestly, 100, 200 years. So I don't know how much we're going to see in our lifetime as the end result. But do I believe that we're going to be seeing more of that and more of that? Absolutely. And so not to minimize the question of what can we do to facilitate that besides work on ourselves. If there feels like there is something beyond doing your own inner work, the thing is, to me, it's like it's all inner work. So I'm starting to kind of climb into my own little blah. People who are innovating and who are bringing in new possibilities in terms of, bringing the world together and creating win-win-win scenarios, they are following their soul's work. And that is by way of doing their work. And so I feel like it all comes back to that if there is something more for us to do, is there something more? It really does come back to being in alignment with ourselves, because if we are supposed to innovate something that will create that, then we will be that change agent. But we can only do that by having a strong and deep connection to ourselves that we trust. So I feel like it all comes back to our own personal work. Okay, Monica, a theme coming up for me lately is feeling guilty when there shouldn't be anything to feel guilty about. It's a feeling inside me which I feel has no place in reality, and it seems to appear when I'm in a low energy or exhausted. Where is this coming from, and what is it trying to show me? So what comes up for me very strong and quickly around that is it actually feels like energy that is sent towards you. It does not actually feel like it is from you. I feel like I'm getting like family lineage patterns of energy that are being projected towards you. And so, and of course, you're going to be more susceptible to those if you are feeling a little bit lower or denser. So I would say that the greatest work to do is to just continue strengthening like your energy field. Be aware that when these things come up, that you want to do more of that lineage work, that you want to do more of that family work, even if it's like praying for family, praying for lineage, sending light and energy to them, whatever it is that makes you feel like you are, you know, emitting something beautiful for them. But I would actually go into healer mode and start sending them positive frequencies, because that is going to change their patterning and energetic structure so that it doesn't have to have such an impact on you. And that comes through really strong, Monica. Okay, Callie, 2020 has been pretty amazing for me in terms of my home and career validation, yet my relationship with my partner / best friend has been hard as he's been struggling the last few years. How do you see our relationship in 2021? So I actually feel like that what you are going to see is a creative, it's kind of bringing all of these elements together, but I actually feel like you two will develop a very creative way of being together and being like really synergistic. That part of what I see that he's been going through is, you know, talk about cleaning internal closets and all of that. He's been feeling a lot of oppressive energy from what I'm seeing, a lot of just heavy oppression that has been sort of cosmic. I would be interested in knowing more about his chart, just because it feels like it's more cosmic than anything. And what I believe that you're going to be seeing this year is new possibility, and it is going to be creative. But I do feel like you will come back into alignment more in the way that you used to feel. Maybe not in the same way, because again, we're looking at innovation as like totally new, but it feels like you come into a place of alignment that is quite different, where both of you feel nourished. And I feel like he sort of comes back to life, because actually I feel like that's what he needs. He hasn't been, his energy does not look like it has been very alive or awake because of the density that's been on him. That's what I feel like is going to shift, and it's going to give a lot more possibility for the two of you. Okay. So Barbara on YouTube is saying, I just listened to the Ayurvedic astrology with Yannicka at Wisdom from North. Fantastic. You guys know that I love Yannicka and Wisdom from North. It says Western astrology is off by one sign. Do you know anything about this? Thank you. Yeah. So it's and Vedic astrology would say that Western astrology is off by one sign. The difference is, and I will do my best to explain this in the best way that I know how. In Vedic astrology, it is a fixed system. So there are certain planets that are actually, they are not moving. It's like you are moving around something that is fixed. And so for a lot of people who are into more Western astrology, they believe that that means, oh, so there's stuck energy. And so this is like fate. Like, there's nothing we can do about this. This is actually fixed. So like, this is the card you got dealt. Have fun with that. but in my experience and education, that's sort of a limited view of how Vedic astrology works. It's, yes, there are aspects that are fixed, but that's because, when I look at myself, I'm like, well, my soul is fixed in a certain way. If to be aligned, my soul has to be fixed on something. There has to be something sturdy and steady keeping it in place. So then I get to work around that. And so I see the potential of having things that are sturdy and steady that I get to work with. Now, with Western astrology, it's all moving. It's all moving. And so, I understand both perspectives perfectly. And frankly, I think they're both beautiful systems and they actually really complement each other. That's how I feel about it. I think they have different wording for beautiful different aspects of possibility. So in Western astrology, because nothing is fixed, they have moved with the collective energy. And so over time, I think there's a 28-degree difference, if I'm not mistaken, if I remember that correctly. Don't quote me, but I think I'm remembering that correctly. So Western astrology has continued to move, and they're not fixed. And so that's where that sort of discrepancy has taken place. And it will continue to get greater and greater, obviously, because the degrees will keep going. So it'll be interesting to see, years from now, like, are they still sort of speaking different languages, but all to get to the same point? I don't know. I'll be very curious about that. But again, my 2 cents is they're both fantastic. They're just different approaches, like most things, frankly. Okay, Miriam. What will my work look like? My 9 to 5 and my sole purpose. Lately, I have had so much doubt in myself and my big purpose. What do you see for me in 2021 and in the future? So here's the thing. I feel like part of what is happening for you is there's a part of you that you have sort of psyched out, if you will, by knowing the feeling of this big purpose, which from what I'm seeing is definitely about being like in the healing arts. There's no question for me that is your station. And so even though I have said that I feel like, you can be a healer and you could work at a laundromat, or be a bus driver, it doesn't matter. With you specifically, I do believe that you are actually meant to be in the healing arts. Now, here's what I would recommend for you, though, is start feeling into the small pieces, the small nuances. Start to take one little step, because I feel like there is this big energy around you that almost feels really overwhelming when you think of where you are versus who you are. And so when you stay sort of there, it creates a bigger gap between you and what is possible for you, or your experience of it is that it creates a bigger gap. And so what I want to see for you is actually closing that gap a bit by giving yourself the space to start playing with what is possible now. So if that means taking some kind of training, even if it's like the most inexpensive and the shortest one you can find, it almost doesn't matter right now. It's do some little things because we want to get that energy more aligned in, oh, this is possible. Oh my gosh, because I know that there's possibility up here when you have those moments of course it's possible. But ultimately, I feel like there's a disconnect in your experience of that because, again, you're going to where you feel like you are now versus what you're capable of. And so it's just sort of like, so do what you can, even if it seems like it is the smallest step imaginable. And that will start to move the energy for you. But I do feel like healing arts is very, very important for you on your path. I have no question about that. Okay, Rajmila. I feel like I have nothing to do except being in my bubble, doing intense inner work. What kind of work will be nudged, will I be to do in a physical community kind of way in this coming year? For you, physical community is going to be really, really important. And what's interesting about you is even when you are in community, You are still someone who needs a lot of time to do her own solo deep work. But here's what's great is that you do all of that really deep work, and then you come out and you have almost like more of an offering for community. So what I want to say is this will also depend on your willingness to believe it's possible and to take action. But do I see the possibility there for you this year? Absolutely. Because I didn't spend a lot of time on it, but one of the big energies of a 5-year, and even with Jupiter and Saturn and Western astrology, those are all lining up with like travel and connection. And so I do believe that for you, there is a lot in it about travel. Not necessarily, I mean, yes, connecting community with where you are, but I actually feel like you will probably be traveling somewhere to have more of the connection that feels like it resonates more with you. And that's what I see as being truly possible for you this year. Callie, he's a Cancer. Yeah, okay. Okay, Julia from YouTube. Do you have any insight into career matters for me? Will I change jobs next year or stay for a while in the job I am in now? Yesterday, everything was spinning around. I was nauseous and I was vomiting all day. I had to be in bed all day. Today, I'm still spinning and still nauseous. What's happening? You know, it's funny. One of our dogs is having the same experience. So there's there's a lot of energy stirring up in you, literally. And because you are so empathic, what I see is literally like this big swirling in your energy field. So it's like the pot is getting stirred. Really, you want to be gentle on yourself and give yourself some TLC, give yourself a little bit of time of rest and relaxation so that you can actually work with these energies so that they're not like taking over you. And so you asked about work, change in career. Oh, change in job, not career. Okay, that's what I was going to ask. Oh, okay. I think I've got my helper here and we're trying to talk in code and it's okay. 2 questions from Juliana. Got it. Thank you. I do feel like you're going to change jobs, but I do think that's going to be a little bit down the road. So it is this year, but I feel like, and for those of you who don't know me, I don't love time frames because I know these are things that we can work with and change. But if I am looking at the energy that I see right now with where everything is going, June is what is popping up for me very strong. So I feel like that's June literally, or it's around the half-year mark. But it does look like a change in job is actually really important for you. And it's important for your growth. That's a really important piece because there are ways that I feel like you've outgrown where you are. And it's important that not only you go to a place that feels more aligned, but I feel like you need to see yourself in a place that is more aligned so that you can have a different experience of yourself. And that's where I think it's really important because here again, we're coming back to what energy are you holding? What vibrational field are you holding on to? And so that's why that's important. Jesper, okay. Western astrology is based on the tropical zodiac, which starts at spring equinox sign at the horizon. That moves according to the Earth's precession. Vedic is based on sidereal. That's right. I couldn't remember the sidereal part. Yes, sidereal zodiac, and that starts, as far as he knows, the same place every time. It's a 23.5 degrees apart now. Okay, perfect. Thank you so much for looking that up. I can't believe I forgot the word sidereal. Perfect. Thank you so much for that. Okay, Carla, what are you getting for me in regard to my career 2021 and beyond? So for you, Carla, it's a little different than the last question I just answered, but it's actually quite similar to a lot of the energy that I've been talking about today, which is I see that there's a real big change that needs to take place, that is going to take place for you. Now in 2021, and I'm kind of being drawn back into the patience aspect of it, 2021, I feel like, is when you start to build this transition, build this bigger thing. And then your career really starts to change, maybe towards the end of the year, but possibly even into 2022. Now, what's great about this, though, is I do feel like you're going to have enough enough energy, enough new energy this year around some significant changes that is going to help you feel expansive. You will have some challenges with it because the part of you that wants to contract and not see yourself as that expansive is going to, I think, be called to task a little bit. So where I would focus for you is, while I see a big career change for you, and it actually literally feels like you're like changing fields in a way. You're either changing fields completely, or you're in a totally different aspect or area of it. But I feel like it could be completely, because it feels like pretty radical. The place for you that I see as the most important point of focus when we look at alignment and you doing your work is to give yourself the space to really push your boundaries, push your own boundaries, and take some healthy risks. That'll be key for you to moving the energy. So, obviously don't make any decisions like quickly or haphazardly, but this year is a good year for you to be uncomfortable. That's when you're uncomfortable, you know that you're doing the work that you're supposed to do. Okay, from YouTube, Jade, how can you answer the "what wants to be born from you" question? Are you asking us to use our intuition to predict that? Hopefully that makes sense. Thank you. Yeah, it makes perfect sense. Thank you. Yeah, so all of these questions, and thank you for asking that question because I think it's a good one. These questions are not meant to come from your mind. These questions are questions to really be with and see what energy and information wants to come out of you. So I would take a question like, "What wants to be born from me?" and just sit with it and like ask and see what my body feels. See what, you might get an image, you might get a feeling. And so that's the other important piece. You may not go, "Oh, that's what wants to be born for me. Perfect. Why didn't I do this sooner?" Like, it's very possibly not going to be quite like that. But if you start to feel, what is the experience of that? Like, is it, what wants to be born for me is feeling purposeful and liberated and expansive. And then what does that feel like in your body, in your beingness? How does that feel? How do you experience that? So you ask the question more from an intuitive place, from a deep embodied place. We'll go back to the Tantric numerology number 5, embodied. So you really want to be in that embodied space and ask, and then just notice what qualities come up and start to spend time in those qualities, because that's where you're working with your vibrational field, so that whatever starts to match those embodied experiences is what starts to come into alignment for you. So that's how I would use those questions. Thank you for asking that. Annette, after a divorce some years ago, I have felt more and more free within myself the last 1 to 2 years. It is as if a board is being wiped and the air cleaned up. I have a feeling that it on a vibrational level will be good for me to continue by myself for a while. It is as if I'm going into a relationship right now will be like going back to something old. Can you see if there's something about that, or am I lying to myself? So I see what you're saying. And the way that I would phrase it, I actually don't think that you're lying to yourself, but I'll give you the words that I would use to see if maybe this just validates and helps you really land it in your body. You have done a tremendous amount of work on yourself to really come into yourself and to be yourself outside of your relationship, and that identity outside of your relationship. And so what I hear you saying and what it looks like to me is you want to feel like you are so in yourself, so embodied in yourself that you're strong enough to be in a relationship and not feel like it's removing you from this centered place within you. And I do see that there is truth in that. And so I'll go back to the tantric numerology being, balanced, really centered within yourself. That's going to be the energy that you're going to be working with this year. And so I feel like that's really what you're working with within this year. And then once you really feel that like sturdiness and steadiness of truly being centered in yourself, that is when you will feel ready, and you will know when you are ready for that relationship. Like it will feel like an opening. And so I just want to validate for you, I don't think you're lying to yourself. I think you're doing important work. And I think this year is really going to support that for you. And from what I see, you do have a relationship, a longer term relationship up ahead, but there's a little bit of time yet before that happens. Okay. Grow. I feel so out of place and in big resistance to the paid work I do. I feel too old to find a new job. Besides, I don't know what I really want. I have no feeling of what comes naturally to me. Do you have tips on how to find the next best step for growth, for alignment, for service? Yeah, so not to oversimplify, I would actually focus on doing a lot of breath work, a lot of breathing techniques. Because I find like I've had people ask me before, if you could choose, only one tool that you could do like for the rest of your life, what would it be? Like it can't be yoga and meditation and this and that. And I would say absolutely it would be doing breathing, breath work. And so I believe that consistently doing your breathing daily, several times a day, is going to help you connect more to your soul level, which is going to help you come into alignment. The big resistance to the paid work you do. That's all part of the same piece. So I really do feel like this is about connection with soul. I feel like I want to know your tantric numerology, because either way, what you're talking about, what I'm seeing with you is this is a soul body out of the 10 bodies. This is a soul body situation. And so a lot of breath work can really help with that. So I would start there. And when I say a lot, I do mean like, even if it's a couple minutes a day, a few times a day, or just one set time where it's like, 10, 15 minutes, if not more, if you can, that'll move a lot of energy for you and help you find that place. It's very important work you're doing. Okay, Amy, I have an ongoing lifelong pattern of attracting bullies and toxic narcissists in my life. There are family members, acquaintances, coworkers, bosses, potential partners, etc. I have spent decades working on myself. I've been unable to break this pattern. Do you have any ideas what is going on and what I can do to make this stop? Yeah, there's a couple of things. The one is, I'm going to go back to, like, this is another, it feels like a lineage pattern. This feels very, very old, and it does feel karmic. So there is actually a meditation practice that I would love to share with you. Amy, if you would email, I'm going to put, if you can just email the email I just put up, I can send you something that can help you clear that, because I think that there's quite an energetic force here. I see it. And it's not, this is one of those times where this is not about mental or consciousness. This is actually about literally changing energetic patterns within your field of energy. So that's going to require a little kind of a different support. So just email the and ask, this is Amy from the Q&A. I had asked about this, and we'll get you the information. So if you would do that, that would be great. Okay. Oh, Cindy. Okay, she's already left. Okay. So North Star. So we're back to YouTube. Since last quarter of 2019, I've said I lost my future vision, my ability to see my way forward. It's lessening now, but still don't have a direction. Can you comment on how we can come out of this cocoon? Fantastic question. Really fantastic question. I don't actually think you're alone with that. Here's what's beautiful about it. Actually, quick commercial break. I need a sip of my water. It's not green water. There's chlorophyll in it. Okay. What's fantastic about this is that when we have sort of lost that vision, it is a signal that there is a higher part of you that is wanting to create something new. So you're actually right on target with all the energy that we have been talking about, which is fantastic, actually. So one thing is don't rush it. Trust yourself that you know what you are doing. Be available, be open, be consistent with your spiritual practices, whatever they are. You want to be consistent doing them daily, regularly. I feel so sure that within the next month or two, you are going to feel quite different. Because right now, and what you have been dealing with is just truly being under the influence of these cosmic forces that we've been talking about. And they can be very disorienting and disillusioning. And they can make us feel like, gosh, if I lost my way, I can't figure things out. What's great about Saturn and Jupiter, again, they're ether and air. That is all about the mind. It can be the neutral, positive mind, the intuition. And so I just feel like you have been in a restructuring that is all going to start to come back together. So stick to your spiritual practices. You're not going to be able to rush this, but the cosmic forces are going to start to move into your favor. And so I feel like you will naturally start to just get more footing. Oh, Goddess Deity. That's a great name. Okay, this is from YouTube. Last year in September, I met a person who completely changed my life. After I confessed my feelings by writing a letter, I've been pushed away, blocked, and that person literally ran away from me. Okay, and I think, so the question would be, let's see. And we'll take the last questions that are here, and then I think we'll need to wrap up. So I don't really get a question with that. I'm sorry to hear that. And sometimes people come to us to be a catalyst to totally change our life, and that was the point. Sometimes that really is the point, and there's not always more. But I'm not entirely clear on your question. So, yeah. Let's see. Selena on YouTube, do you see energy around my love life? Let's see. I do. So I actually, what I see is that there's a lot of change. And when I say change, I feel like in you. I feel like there's been a lot of transforming that's been happening in you, that you have an energy field of someone who transforms very quickly and very frequently. And so sometimes in relationships with people who have energies that move that quickly, is that it can make relationships sometimes feel harder or almost impossible, because it's like, you're like, someone catches up to you or meets you somewhere, and then you're already on to the next and on to the next and on to the next. And so what I want to say is that there is someone for you that really values growth like you do, that has a similar energy to you. Although I don't know that they move quite as quickly, but they have an energy that can support your quick movement. And so what I don't want you to do is hold back or constrict yourself from all the growth that you are capable of doing because you fear that people aren't going to be able to stick with you or catch up with you. Because I feel like, at least unconsciously, there's a little bit of that going on, if that's not even conscious. So just keep doing what you're doing, and know that there is a place where you get to come together and meet that person, like at a level playing field. Okay, Lenny, what do I need to know? So Lenny from YouTube, I see a lot of surrender with you. And it feels like a very powerful, positive thing. And as we all know, that surrender is not always the easiest thing. But I do see a lot of surrender for you coming up. So and what I mean by that is like really staying in the, let's say it this way, surrendering to the higher version of you, and really being clear that that can change things in your life for sure, but it's meant to. That's where I feel like the change is going to come in for you the most, is remembering to surrender. Remember to surrender into that higher version of yourself, and things actually line up very quickly for you. Things align quickly for you. You have a very masterful, manifesting kind of energy. And so you have to be particularly clear about your intentions and where you're holding your energy. Yes, that's true for all of us, but there are some and some of you are even like just here today where you just like, you have to really be intentional about what you do and what your thoughts and all of that are, because things move so quickly for you. So just know that about yourself and stay in that surrender, and things really can move kind of quickly for you. So I don't know that patience is going to be the same for you this year as it is for most of us. Or it's been that you've been patient for a long time and things are coming to fruition. Okay, Diana. Hi, as my personal year will also be a 5 next year, what does that mean? Or even more intense, like a double 5, or it actually can be. Yeah. And so with you also, it's also about sort of organizing family and home life as well. Like whatever dynamics that you have going on, that's what I see coming up for you. That's a little bit more prevalent. And a piece of that is making sure that you take really good care of yourself. This is a year for you that is about redefining your boundaries and being really clear about what your boundaries are. And for me, the way that I say that I see boundaries is, it's not so much about protection and protecting ourselves. The boundaries are more about distinguishing who we are in the world. And so that's when I talk about boundaries for you, I really feel like it's going to be that kind of year for you. Obviously, there could be some travel and all of that, but connection, boundaries, being able to be connected while holding boundaries. You can hear there's a little bit of a paradox in there that could be sort of a push-pull. That's where I feel like your work's going to be this year. And that's where that 5 becomes really prevalent for you. Remy, so what do you see for me in 2021? I see new, let's say, stages of empowerment. And I feel that things come together for you in ways that you would not have anticipated. It's almost like you're looking over here at one thing, like you take your attention somewhere and like magic, something else like sprouts that's like perfectly beautiful, that is aligned, that you would not have expected. So the thing with you is really being available for the ride, being really intentional about everything that you do, and be very clear about creating sturdy foundations. It feels like, it's funny because we're going into like all this earth and air, so there's movement for you, and we've really left a lot of that earth energy in a way. But still with you, I'm seeing a lot about foundation being built so that you can create that movement. That's the piece that I see for you that's really going to be important in 2021. So feet on the ground, and obviously staying inspired, but knowing that your feet on the ground is what is going to create a momentum for you, and doing what is right in front of you, and letting the universe conspire for you outside of what you're focused on. A little bit different for you than it is for some others. Okay, Kelly from YouTube. I am a nurse. I do not want to be so involved in the recent years, but my department is right in the middle of the drama. What do you think I should do moving forward? Oops. Sorry. I've actually just hit to remove someone rather than admit them. Apparently, I'm not the best multitasker. Let's not kick people out. Okay, so I'm a nurse. I do not want to be so involved in recent events, but my department is right in the middle of the drama. Right, of course you are. Moving forward. So Kelly, there's a few things. I do feel like for the time being, you are just sort of where you are, unless, of course, you were to make a totally different choice, which is certainly within the realm of possibility, of course. But if I'm looking at the energy, the way that it is projected right now, I actually feel like you are there for a while. Here's the thing. I believe that your energy is actually needed there. And so, obviously, you're a nurse. There's a lot of selfless work that comes with being a nurse, especially right now. But the truth is I feel like your energy is needed where you are more than anything. So with your work, I would say be so clear about where you're directing your energy. I mean, if you stay like in a higher field of energy using essential oils or crystals or mantra, whatever keeps you feeling elevated, do that and see what you can sort of emit out of you when you are at work. That will help you sort of survive while you are, emotionally, energetically survive while you are there. Because I do feel like it is taking a toll on you also empathically, because you are quite empathic. So I would address your empathic nature like a lot and make sure that you're tending to that, and making sure that you are also, I think I said this to someone earlier, but it's similar, making sure that you are in your healer self while you are there and sending out, projecting out healing energy. I feel like ultimately that's actually why you are there. Obviously, you have the skills of a nurse, but there's bigger reasons. Shelly, I feel like the 2021 will be very turbulent with so many projects and responsibilities pulling me in so many different directions. Yet what wants to be born for me is a shift to really surrender and connect spiritually to be of service. Can you provide some insight on this? I cannot fathom how I can balance it all. I definitely get that. So here's the irony. Because it's funny because when I look at your energy field, I literally see you juggling, and it almost looks like juggling more than what I feel like is even possible, to be just totally honest to you. I say that with like all the love in my heart. And so the sort of interesting way of calling in the solution here is actually taking more time for yourself. And I know it sounds crazy because it's like, wait, but I basically just said I do not have the time or energy. So like, where am I going to find that? The truth is remember that like you can be a time master, that you can get a lot more done, a lot more efficiently while having more bandwidth, while staying really centered within yourself. So 2 things. First of all, throw the idea of balance out the window, please. because I find, like, I love the word balance, and I even used it earlier. In your case, this is a really important thing to bring up. It's not so much about balance, it's about finding the harmony. So imagine that your life is more of a symphony where some days the violins are going to play more and some days it's going to be the brass instruments, right? So you want to find this kind of harmony that you can sort of move within and dance within. The more that you stay centered within yourself, and the more that you actually give yourself a little bit more time for your spiritual practices, I literally don't care if you spend 5 minutes a day doing breath work or saying a mantra, playing mantras while you're doing whatever. But have a consistent practice that you do that reminds you to come here, because you are your center point. None of this is going to find balance or harmony. You are the center point, and the more that you can come from a very grounded, centered place, the more that these other energies are actually going to be able to organize themselves on your behalf and not feel like there are these frenetic energies around you that are actually turning you around. That you get to command your energy in a way that they will move in symphony around you, not the other way around. But that is going to require consistent practice. Give it 3 minutes, 5 minutes a day. It doesn't matter. Just find the things that get you there consistently and do that. But it is going to be a good year for you. So there's that. Like, you will survive it. It's a lot, but you are going to get to the other side of it, and you're actually going to feel good about it. And make sure you take naps. Please. Okay. Okay. Arnhild. Hi, Arnhild. What do you see for my career in 2020? So actually, your career, I'm actually looking at what feels sort of steady and consistent to me. Even if it doesn't feel like it's, even keeled right now necessarily, I actually feel like there is a real consistency for your career. This feels like more of a year for you to focus more inward, which I know you're good at anyway, but it does look like that's where the focus is going to be. Your career actually looks pretty consistent and solid to me. And I feel like it could be later in the year into next year where I actually feel like you have a very positive shift that sort of takes you beyond where you are now. But right now, I just really sort of see steady, consistent, not major changes there. Diana, finding my purpose should be professional areas. Some insights for me. Yes. Professional area versus, Diana, I guess I don't totally understand. Only because I don't understand, I guess, what you mean, the difference between personally and, professionally versus not. So if you could, let's see if you've added some insight now. Okay. We'll take just a few more questions here. If you could just clarify that for me, Diana, that would be very helpful. North Star, I'm going to get to some people who I haven't answered a question for yet, since we're almost at an hour and a half. And if there's time, I will get back to it. Let me see. Okay, Junko. Hi, Junko. Hi, Sita. My midheaven is at 3 degrees in Aquarius, and it is my 10th house of career. So I know this conjunction is going to be very powerful for me. I feel that everything I have experienced in life so far is leading up to this. I've also received many validations from my guides that what I see and hear are useful for others. However, since a few days ago, I encountered many situations where I had no choice but to question my intuition. Am I experiencing this because I am in the process of calibration, or what I thought could contribute to the world was not aligned with the universe? No. So what I want to say, it is sort of that calibration effect in a way. Right now, there's a lot of stirring. The pot has just been stirred, and so there's just this collective sort of disorientation right now that I'm seeing with a lot of people. And so I feel like what you are experiencing is more very temporary and related to just where things are at the moment. I don't see anything out of alignment with what you have been seeing for yourself, with that, what you've been feeling aligned with. So please don't believe that just a couple of days of questioning your intuition, because I feel like in a way those are being brought on your path so that you can almost resolve and be committed more to yourself. It's sort of that contrast in front of you to go, no, but I know this is true. It's really time to like claim it. Sometimes those challenges come in so that we have to actually lean on ourselves in a different way and really go, no, I am resolving to this because I know it, I feel it. And so I wouldn't put a lot of weight in that in terms of questioning yourself. I actually feel like it's quite the opposite. Okay. Hi, can you say something about 2021 will change or affect me? What is important that I focus on? How can I come closer to my true self? Thank you so much for the session and your time, Sita. You're so welcome. For you, like a lot of people, I mean, honestly, I say this, what I'm about to say is true for everyone. There's no question. And then when I'm saying this specifically to some of you, it really is because this is a very important piece of the puzzle for you. Your spiritual practices, I do feel like, I don't know if it's that you could be doing them more consistently, more longer, or there's something else that wants to drop in with you that feels like it's very energetic. And in some ways, I feel like it's almost like I feel like I'm more in my mind field and I'm looking over here and something is hovering over up above here. And so what I would love to see you do is work on your 7th and 8th chakra a little bit more, not because you're not open, but because I feel like there is more of you that wants to come through that way. And it feels like maybe, even though it's funny because I know that you do your spiritual work, but I still feel like there's maybe this little bit of distraction. And I feel like maybe it is the mind stuff or something to that effect. I feel like the most important thing is for you to truly work with your 7th chakra and developing your 7th chakra more, so that you are really feeling like you are trusting your intuition and that you are fully aligned. There's a different experience of yourself that I feel like is at another level that wants to come through. So that is where I would work, because everything else comes from that for you. Everything else comes from that. So you have that spiritual warrior type energy. So it's like, ooh, I just want you to like go there and feel that. Okay, we have a comment, book called Breath. Cool. Yeah, it's important that we don't hold our breath. Like breathing is really, breathing is everything. So I'm going to take just a couple last questions here. So I'm sorry I might not be able to get to everyone, but we have been here for a while and some of you are so patient staying here. Hold on. I lost my place. Oh, good. You're welcome, Grow. And Callie. Kim from YouTube. Any new relationships coming in for me? Yeah, so here's the thing. This is definitely, like, there is a place for free will with this stuff. Like, if honestly, any of us wanted of course, I'm in a very happy relationship. But any of us could really go find a relationship. So there really can be relationships. What I see for you, Kim, is for you to do the preparation work to be ready for that person who is that vibrational perfect match for you. Because you do have like one person in particular that feels really dominant to me. And then there are a few other people just sort of circling around. So to me, that's saying you have options. And the prominent energy, oh, I lost my place. There we are. The prominent energy could be someone because they feel closer in time, or they feel like they're a little bit more like direct, or just like a stronger energy field. I feel like it's probably more that. What I want you to know is that you are the creator of this. Are there new relationships coming in for you? Absolutely. This will be a good year for that. Make sure that you have discernment and that you're coming from an intentional place. I really think that is the key. Don't come from lack. Come from knowing that there are people for you that you can really enjoy being with. And that you just want to make sure that you have the discernment of not settling. And as I was talking about earlier on, like making sure that you're creating like patterns that feel good to you, new patterns, new energy, new ways of relating, new ways of doing things. That's going to be really important for you this year as it, as this sort of cosmic energy works in relationship to your relationships. Mary, I picked a word for the next year, progress. How do you see that for me? Ooh, well, I love that. So the way that I see that is it is exactly what it says, the progress. It's being disciplined. So of course I keep bringing up spiritual practices because that's the discipline and that's the energy that I've talked about. I literally just got that myself. Kind of slow sometimes, I guess. Okay. So progress for you is truly about making progress. And what I want to highlight for you, I brought this up earlier, but I feel like this really speaks to where you are. The progress being, which part of yourself are you operating from? Is it going to be your higher self? Is it going to be your expanded self? Or are you going to stay sort of in that older you energy? The progress for you is that the invitation is for you to consistently consult this expanded version of you that wants to take up more space in your life and take action from her wisdom, not the wisdom that you have had from your past. So that's a different kind of wisdom. And that's where I feel like a lot of your progress is going to come from. Christy, oh, okay. Christy is one of my favorite people. Hi. Okay, you mentioned breath work. Is there a specific course, book, etc. you recommend to start with? So I'll tell you, I mean, we have some free videos on Sita TV. I actually probably need to do just some breath ones. Because I do the Kundalini practices, there's so many incredible breathing techniques within the Kundalini technology. So those are my go-to, and they've been hugely beneficial. But things like breath of fire, not to be done, women, ladies, if you're on your cycle. But the breath of fire is amazing. And so is, there's a breath where, let's say, you inhale through your nose, slow, deep inhale through your nose, hold your breath, and then you pump your navel. You pump your navel point as you're holding your breath 8 to 16 times. And then you slowly exhale through your nose. That is a very, very powerful breath. So you inhale slowly and deeply, hold your breath, pump your navel point 8 to 16 times, and then slowly exhale through your nose. That's a very powerful one. Even if you do that for 3 minutes, you're going to feel a huge difference just in your energy, so many things. So that and breath of fire are two really, really great ones. Breath of fire, if you have heart issues, is one that you don't want to do though. So if anyone's listening and you have heart issues, I wouldn't do that one. Also, again, if you're on really the first couple of days of your cycle, your moon cycle, that's not really the time to do it either. Okay. Annette. So I think I'm going to take like 3 more questions. And then I think we're going to wrap up. Where are we? Okay. Annette, thank you so much. Oh, good. It resonates. I'm so glad. Okay. Laura, I feel like the past couple of years I am in transition. Any comments on the way forward? Be grateful. Well, yeah, I mean, because you have been in transition, but not just like little transition. You've been in like what looks to me like major transition. There's been a lot that I feel like you can't, it's almost like I don't even feel like you're the same person that you were. It's like that kind of transition. It's like you're this whole new version of you. And so in some ways, what's so fascinating is that I feel like you kind of look like this anyway. And energetically, you sort of have a pioneering energy where you're sort of always ahead of everyone. So I feel like as I'm reading in your energy, I'm like, oh, okay. So the past couple of years, you've been doing the work that like we're all about to do now. So that's interesting. And that's great because we need people like you who are sort of anchoring the energy ahead of us, right? Like that's your energy, that pioneering energy. So I actually feel like as many of us start to move into the work that you've been doing, you're actually going to find a more solid ground. And I really do think it is about, this is not your first rodeo. Like you have done so much work on yourself. And so here you are in a way, it's almost like being a novice again and yet having wisdom. And so it's this delicate dance of letting yourself be new and pushing yourself, but not pushing yourself like in a way that you're wasting energy. Because I can see in you, it's just like, I don't know, I'm not spending energy on anything anymore that is like not worth my time, like not. And so that is the way to move forward, is using yourself really as your own litmus test. Like, does this really serve me? Does this give me life? Does this expand me? And if it is not a whole body yes, then it's a no or a not right now. And so I would really use that for everything moving forward over the next year, because it's like you've met yourself at a whole new level. And so in some ways, it's familiarizing yourself with who you are now, but not that you don't know yourself, but it's like, what does this actually look like in action now? And so in action, it is if this does not give me more life, then I'm not doing it. And so that is definitely where I would keep your focus, because I feel like that's what's going to bring some really solid, really cool things in for you, where you're just, your whole life is like that whole body. Yes. Because it's like you get to recreate all of that from a place that you really have never had the opportunity to create it before. So I feel like this year is going to be really good for you. Cool. You're welcome. Rita, thank you for all your wisdom. What do you see my soul lesson in this lifetime? For you, Rita, what I see a lot of your work is about you want to make sure that when you feel confident, that you're not confusing that with ego. You want to make sure that you allow yourself to shine without feeling like it's going to throw everybody else off. You have such an exquisite energy that really does care so much about other people. And I feel like some of your biggest soul lessons are really, really getting, not just knowing this, because I know you know what I'm about to say. I'm just saying, like, being the embodiment of what I'm about to say, which is the more that you give yourself the space and permission to truly stand in your power and your amazing, precious light, the more other people will get what they need from you without you actually having to tend to them in the way that you usually do, which is like take care of their emotions and their comfort levels and all of that stuff. No more. You don't need to do that anymore at all. It's time for you, and it's time to understand that for you, that's your surrender. That's your movement. That's where your soul is saying, I am declaring this space on this earth at this time. And when I do that, I know that all of my loved ones are going to go to their most powerful places too, because that's the power of your energy. You stand in your power, you're sending everybody else's into theirs. Even if they're kicking and screaming at first, that's where they're going. So that's what I feel like is like your biggest soul lessons. So yeah, blessings to you. That's really great work you're doing. Okay, guys. Oh, wait, there's only 2 more questions. I will take these. I understand if you have to go. You're so welcome. But there's only 2 questions left, so I feel like I want to get to them. Ada, what do you see for me in 2021, especially in terms of immediate relationships, place, living, health? I'll try to answer this as quickly as I can. I actually see a lot of change for you, honestly. I feel like there are some people, places, and things that are actually not in alignment with you. And so even though it might feel really scary, there is some turbulence and energy that's not quite organized. I feel like your health is actually going to do well. What's one of the things about a 5-year is it is about the physical body. It does make us look at our health. I feel like any health related things that you experience are actually related to sort of environmental. And so I feel like which is relationships and living and all of that. Once you get those really squared away, which I feel like those are going to start to organize themselves over the next few months, that you will actually start to feel like you're whole and aligned again. But right now it does look like there's some chaos, but that's actually okay, right? It's sort of like the storm that gets the dead wood off the trees. And then you're left with these beautiful trees that can bloom. That's where I feel like there's some of that energy around you. So it's really not a bad thing. It's just know that because you're feeling some of that, it doesn't mean that you're off track in any way. It just means that you're being purified and cleansed, and the chaos is really a great cleanser. Not always comfortable, but a great cleanser. Everything's going to organize itself. Just keep doing your work, and within the next few months, I think you're going to have a very different experience. Thank you so much. Okay, you're so welcome. Okay, so this is going to be the last question. Thank you for those of you who are hanging in there. Oh my goodness. Okay, I just hate to get this far and then not take like the last couple of questions. Seems silly to me. Diana, oh, this is getting back. Thank you for clarifying the question that you asked a while ago. glad I read that. Okay, Diana, I mean, should purpose be find in my work I do, or should it be in private life, free time, interest? Oh, finding purpose. Believe finding purpose could bring much more in alignment and balance, which means much more ease, joy, and happiness. I agree. So here's the thing that this comes through really strong, though, Diana, is, and on the one hand, I feel like you're kind of saying this, but I want to make sure that I'm really pointing to this, that your purpose feels very aligned with more of your private interests. Like and I'm not saying they're necessarily the same thing, but I'm seeing a very strong connection between those things. And so I would say, I actually feel like focusing definitely on purpose more, and just keeping that, like refining that, because it's like it feels like you're really kind of there. So I would just keep motion with that, focus on purpose, and yeah, everything else is really going to flow from there, because when you don't feel like you're in purpose, it does feel like things get a little bit ungrounded for you, where I feel like you don't feel so connected to yourself. And that's where things sort of start to get a little bit crazy. And so I would definitely focus on purpose, and then let everything else sort of dance around that. So yeah. Well, thank you all. Yeah, good. You're coming back to your higher self, Mary. The answer really resonates. Great. I'm so happy that we could do this today. And thank you guys for being here. Remember, if you're interested in the Sita PK platform, you can go to livewiththelightson.com. There's a 7-day free trial, so you can just check out my lectures and classes and whatever. It's very low cost. So if you know, enjoyed this and you want more, you can check it out. And I will be doing more open houses. So we will, you know, we will do this again eventually. But I appreciate you all being here. Happy solstice. Happy great cosmic alignment. And I will see you at the beginning of next year, 2021. Take care, everyone.